it is PAX Oz 2017 time. I'm joined by Jack, new blood and old blood. How you going?
Yeah, look, keeping together so far. It's PAX, you know, for a lot of people that are excited to come down for PAX. I've already been here for Summer Games Week, so I'm ready to go to
I was
bed.
going to say, you've done a lot of work. We had the Unite thing go up previously, so it's been a big week for you. But I mean, are you still excited? Is there anything at PAX that you're really interested to see?
It's always the indie games. Like, the Indie Pavilion always brings so much bang for buck, but even on top of that, there's so much on the show floor, including like a bunch of like hardware vendors.
Yeah, so lots of hardware vendors, lots of esports, lots of fighting games, Couch Riders guys are here, stuff like that. So it's still maintained a lot of that community element, a lot of that giveaways and all that kind of stuff. So it's been great to see, but I'll tell you what, how about we just show people what we're talking about instead?
Here at PAX Oz 2017, we're at the Ubisoft booth, and Matt, Ubisoft have quite a few games, quite a few big games. One of the biggest booths on the floor, actually. We've both had a chance to play some of the stuff there. So, like, of the stuff that was on show, what did you have a chance to play?
Okay, so there's about 4 major ones in particular. There's still a chance for people to play South Park: The Fractured Butthole, which did come out a few weeks ago, but it's great for them to still support it, even though post-release. But we're talking about the major ones. Just Dance 2018, as we all know, again, it's Just Dance. It's all within the name, but still manages to draw a massive crowd going up there, having a great time. I even jumped there on myself in cosplay as well. It was a lot of fun. But I think the main ones we want to look at is the Crew 2, which is going straight off the first game.
Yeah. So I feel like the big sort of shift between the Crew 1 and the Crew 2, because like you've still got a full map of America, to my knowledge. You've still got like the dumb sort of the control style of like a Need for Speed sort of arcade style game. But now you've got not only cars, but also boats and planes.
Yeah.
They control kind of okay, but also the planes in particular felt kind of wonky to me.
Yeah, I was not a fan of the first game at all by any stretch, but it's great that they're having a lot more focus towards urban environments and having like a Diddy Kong racing style approach to all these different vehicles. And I think, like, you know what? I don't mind that if they're doing everything in the kitchen sink approach. I think I'm cool with that.
Well, look, I think it's more a matter of like if it worked, and I feel like the car thing, it felt like Need for Speed. The boat thing felt kind of a little wonk, but not too wonk. But then the planes, like, look, I'm going to dodge a lot of the plane stuff in the Crew 2 proper, I think.
Yeah, I'm probably also going to smash into a lot of people just for fun.
I love that you just donk into a building and it just fades to black. On show as well is Assassin's Creed Origins, which has just come out, I think, as of Friday of PAX, but also Far Cry 5. And so Far Cry 5, I've been like half in, half out of Far Cry. Where are you at in the series, sort of?
Okay, well, it's just a case of like Vaas is one of my favorite villains of all time from Far Cry 3. But just the fact that this is a very topical game, a very controversial title, considering it's depicting this awful dystopian depiction of recent modern day Americana, and it's very frightening, and it's actually extremely well done with a lot of hired guns, mercenaries. It's got like this interesting home front vibe, but it is an entire civil war that's happening in your own backyard.
Well, yeah, and how that sort of like how that carries over to gameplay as well. Like, it still feels pretty good. The thing that Far Cry hasn't really done a whole lot of since 3 is change. So it still feels kind of consistent because Far Cry 3 did feel really good back in 2012.
Yeah.
Don't think about that for too long. But the mission we got thrown into, we had to like liberate a city, I believe it was.
Yeah. So liberating outposts, standard Far Cry fare, scouting, doing reconnaissance. So that part has not changed. There are a couple of facets involved as well. There's not as many. The map will be open to you completely from the start. So if you got yourself a car or anything to that degree, you can go anywhere you want. Less emphasis on outposts and going and activating towers to get the next missions. So I think the pacing's going to be a lot better, a lot more streamlined, but in a good way. Not in the way of dumbing the down game in particular, but removing a lot of the fluff that's associated with most Far Cry games.
Overall then, sort of thoughts on Ubisoft's booth? Well-rounded, I think?
Very well-rounded, and I'm just going to go back to Just Dance because, goddamn, that dance floor is electrifying, and I can't keep my eyes off it. It's too amazing.
I have the pleasure today of being joined by Derek Kurtzik. Was that close?
It was close.
Yeah. Designer for Injustice 2 from Netherrealm Studios. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us out here in Australia, man. This has been amazing.
I guess the big question becomes Injustice. So you've been with NRS for some years now, nearly 10 years?
Yeah, about a decade. Yes, the first MK that I worked on was MK3 for the DS.
Look, I love the DS, hey, so I get it, hey. How have you seen the games evolve? Like, you know, you guys have a particular system. Like, every kind of fighting game has its own
feel. You know, how have you felt the NRS feel has evolved over the years?
Absolutely. From MKDC, Armageddon, and then we had First Injustice, MK9, right? So I mean, you can definitely feel the evolution of the game. The controls are tighter. We've brought it to more of a tournament standard, competitive game, right? The animations have just gotten better and better, and it looks gorgeous.
You guys are really known for taking community feedback on board. Like that's probably one of your strengths. Have you found sometimes it's tough to manage those expectations of people want, oh, why did you nerf my favorite character, and also realizing what's good for the game and what's bad for the game?
Well, we have amazing designers that we work with, and we also have some tournament players that are in our QA. And so we listen to everything. One of the lead designers, Paulo, has like a multi-Twitch up with like 8 streams on every single day, right? So he just stalks the community. And so we listen. If they have a valid point, we will hit up QA and be like, hey guys, test this out. They feel like they found something. How do you guys feel? And so we will take a lot of the feedback and we'll look into it. Some of it's just complaining, right? Like some people are like,
I've been on the internet, yeah.
right, the clone doesn't work, right? Like it's like, yes, it does. So, but if it's valid, we'll fix it, of course.
So what's the future of Injustice 2? Obviously, you have that great, you got this DC license, you got the kind of the old history thing going on. You know, what we've got Hellboy coming soon as well.
Yeah.
What's the future of Injustice?
So we're going to continue to support Injustice. We're going to continue to tweak and balance gameplay. We're going to continue to add more multiverse events. We have some exciting maybe Justice League stuff coming up in the multiverse. Yeah.
Subtle, right?
Yeah. And then keep balancing things like guilds. And of course we have 3 more characters coming, and it's going to blow your mind. Like, no one's gonna see what we have coming. No one. They're gonna be like, Netherrealm, what? Stop it. You're spoiling us. But yeah, I'm excited.
Well, that is actually my last question.
Oh no!
If you could, you've got Sub-Zero in the game. If you could have any Mortal Kombat character,
Melina.
Wow, thank you for that. Melina is the answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm a huge Melina fan. I was lucky enough to get to work on her in MKX, and so
That was a really cool model, by the way.
yeah, she was awesome. And so if I got to pick one, it would be Melina, hands down.
There you go. My dreams of Bo Raicho are squashed, but that's fine. And see, that's appropriate because Bo Raicho.
Yeah, it does. It works.
Derek, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
That is Matt from New Game Plus, and we parked ourselves right in front of the Nintendo booth to try some of the latest and greatest for Nintendo Switch, along with some of the other consoles like Nintendo 2DS and 3DS. So Nintendo are definitely not forgetting about those. So bursting out of the gate, it is the weekend release for Super Mario Odyssey, which is a highly awaited game. Not much of an introduction needs for this particular game. Still controls fantastic. The visual and audio design is phenomenal. Even though like the entire sound of PAX is completely drowning it out, it still is fantastic. So it's great to see a lot of people getting involved, and look forward to our review over the coming days. There's also a lot of other stuff, a lot of third-party support, big emphasis on third-party titles such as sports titles and some of the mature titles too. So Bethesda coming out swinging with Doom, as well as Skyrim, the Switch edition, all looking really great. NBA as well as from 2K Games, as well as FIFA from EA, and a lot of those games, it's just amazing to see all of these games that were generally considered PC or console titles that you're playing at home perform so seamlessly on portable hardware. Like, it is just phenomenal to see. It is just, sometimes you got to pinch yourself because you think you're dreaming, but all around, fantastic showing, a lot of good ARMS competition going on as well, so there's a lot of local competition kind of like butting heads. It is all happening here at the Nintendo booth at PAX Australia. As always at PAX, there's always a massive showing at Sony PlayStation booth, and yes, definitely this year is certainly no exception. So there are a few games left to me left and right, like Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite and Gran Turismo Sport, that recently just come out and capitalizing on its newfound fame and glory, as well as user base. But we're going to be talking about 2 main games in particular. First one, Quantic Dream's latest, Detroit Become Human. Now, that game in particular doesn't seem to deviate too much from some of the concepts of Quantic Dream's previous games. Heavily story-driven, very cinematic. Your choices decide what happens later on. Every choice has a consequence, yada, yada, yada. However, it seems to be this gimmick, the particular gimmick with Detroit is that you can kind of replay certain scenes over and over again in completely different ways, and it seems to encourage that. So it seems to be a much more better pick up and play cinematic game. I know that seems like such a complete oxymoron, but it seems like the pacing looks a lot better than some of the previous Quantic Dream efforts, and I'm looking forward to it once it releases later on. Now, definitely the game of the Sony booth in particular would definitely have to be Monster Hunter World. Definitely no surprises coming from me. Fantastic game, seems to streamline a lot of elements that make a lot of Monster Hunter fans frustrated. Stuff like combo lists, being able to combine, create items, crafting, as well as the quest system. The quest system is completely overhauled, where you have a massive open world environment. You select quests from that environment, from quest givers, and then you can transport directly to those particular areas. Zoning as well seems to be completely overhauled, where everything is completely preloaded, and you don't have to load in between zones. So really harnessing the oomph and some of the power that the PlayStation 4 Pro really has. And I'm just excited to see that it's using every square inch of its resources to deliver a truly next-gen Monster Hunter experience. So absolutely enthralled. Sony PlayStation booth, fantastic. Detroit, Monster Hunter World, it's all happening here. And in no surprises, Microsoft also has a showing at PAX Australia 2017. Now I'm joined here with Jamie. We played a hell of a lot of games here. What was our favourites?
Honestly, my favourite so far has been Sea of Thieves, which they're actually not showing at the booth itself, they're showing outside on the Hollywood side, which, yes, you're playing a pirate game on a boat. It's amazing.
Nice, pretty meta, but the Rise of Rare comes back.
It's good times. Like it's a fun game. Like it's one of those games where they're setting it up so 4 people play it. Like 4 people play at a time. You've got 3 crews of 4 people, and it's crazy how in depth it is. Like it's a great co-op game. So God bless them for showing it in that space.
And still got a few games. A lot of games getting revamps as well. So the Age of Empires Definitive Edition as well. Seeing a couple of tablets being run on that, and it looks absolutely seamless.
But there's one game I'm actually super curious about, and it's the one behind us. Tell us about Super Lucky's Tale.
Now, I actually had a lot of fun with Super Lucky's Tale. Like, you know, it's a platformer. It's not derivative in any way. It doesn't pretend to be anything else. It's just a really cute, cuddly platformer with surprisingly responsive controls.
I think that's a good thing. Like, we have all these games that are all about just, you know, they've got edge and they've got violence and they've got story, and they're like, you know what? Maybe just sometimes I just want to sit back, jump a bunch, collect a few things, and just chill out. That's a good thing. It's good to see it that they're promoting it in such a way.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no definite shortage of recent releases such as Forza Motorsport 7 and Cuphead, but it's just great to see a lot of indie titles coming out as well. The Xbox One release of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which is definitely highly awaited for console fans.
Yep, and that is everywhere at the show. So hey, it's cool at least seeing, hey, here's the console version. Here you go.
Play with an Xbox controller as well. But aside from that, very solid showing, and I guess I'm going to go back to playing more Super Lucky's Tale. What about you?
I might go play one more round of Sea of Thieves. Just one more round.
Just one more, that's what they all say. Oh my goodness, Jamie, after all this time and all these games that we're just sitting there in lines playing all the time, it's nice to sit down right in front of the Frame Collection booth and then play even more games, shall we?
Yeah, well, so you and I both checked out the Frame Collection, which is a port of Framed and Frame 2, which were originally mobile phone games, now coming to Steam and everything else.
Only just announced as well.
Yeah, it actually just got announced like 10 a.m. on show opening day, which is crazy.
Yeah. So when it all comes down to it, it is a fairly simple puzzle concept, utilizing a lot of spatial awareness and timing as well. A lot more fairy than you'd think, but there's just a lot of neat little audio and visual tricks involved that really make the game shine.
Yeah, it does a great job of telling a story without really saying anything, without kind of using any dialogue, which is always a really cool thing with me. And kind of the thing I'm really impressed with is that the port works really well. Like all you did in the game was just you drag tiles around, and it's a natural fit for a mouse. So
for a mouse or even for a tablet,
it works super well. So hey, if you've never had a chance to play Frame before, you get two really cool locally made games on Steam. That's amazing.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Jamie.
Yes.
Joined by Steve from Surprise Attacks. Hello, Mr. Hello, how you doing?
I'm pretty good, thanks, Mr. Jason. How are you?
I'm very, very good. Now, you guys have 3 main games you guys are showing. You have a few more than that, don't you?
Yeah. We've got quite a few here at PAX. So first off, we're showing an Invisible Hand. It's the first time it's been in Australia. It's basically Papers, Please meets the stock market.
That was what I got from it. When I saw it, I'm like, glory to our Tosca.
Yeah. So a little bit of Patrick Bateman in there without the murder, you know, but basically you're using information from the real world to influence your stock trading, and then that changes the real world. So there could be riots, depending if people can't afford food because you're ruining things. So that's like, you know, a bit of a comment on consumerism and stuff like that.
And that was the great thing about Papers, Please. It was a great game that just happened to have a really political message, and it seems like this is similar.
That's right. We're definitely taking more of a tongue-in-cheek tone than, you know, sad, my family can't afford to eat. But yeah, you know,
thanks for bringing the mood down.
Yeah, sorry, but you know, we're taking a look at that, and it's hopefully coming out early next year, so that's
cool.
cool.
A similar kind of series vein, you've got Orwell as well, the expansion.
Yeah, that's right. We've got the expansion called Ignorance is Strength. It runs alongside, parallel to the original. It's going to be shorter in terms of it's got 3 episodes, but each episode has way more content in it. This time, instead of just dragging stuff into people's profiles, you're using information you know about them to search for them in like Twitter clients, to break into their phones because you're getting passwords from birthdays and people's email addresses and stuff like that. And there's a lot less hand-holding, so it's way easier to fail. There's way more to digest, and your decisions have way more weight this time.
And lastly, we've got, is it Genesis Noir on the end?
Genesis Noir is a brand new one. It's the first time we've ever shown it. It's a cosmic point-and-click adventure about the Big Bang, but the Big Bang is a fight between 3 gods, and the bang was a shot. Your girlfriend has been shot, so you're going through space and time to try and save her, but if you do, the creation of the universe is in jeopardy. It has an amazing art style. It's from a team over in New York we're working with. It's coming to Kickstarter pretty soon, and then we'll be getting involved in some capacity afterwards.
Is there anything else I'm missing that I've forgotten?
Oh, you've got Think of the Children over here, which is causing a storm. You know, everyone loves being a parent and looking after their kids a day at the beach.
It's a little bit overcooked with a little bit more child murder.
Yeah, just a you know, dash. And we also got Dungeon League back here, which is looking better than ever. We're really close to the release on that one, so everyone should check it out right now. So.
Awesome, Steve. As always, it's a pleasure to see you, and there's some really cool games you guys have at the moment.
Awesome, man. Always happy to chat.
It seems like the PAX Rising section of PAX Australia just grows bigger and bigger every year. And with good reason, we are getting more and more quality indie games that are worthy of being showcased. I want to highlight 4 of the more noteworthy ones from this year's PAX. First off, we have Paper Bark from Victorian studio Paper House. And it is a very distinctly Australian game. It's a picture book-esque sort of approach, a child's picture book of following a wombat as he goes around the Victorian bush, interacting with all the fauna and flora that comes along the way. The developers come from various aspects of rural Victoria, and it shows in here. There's a certain verisimilitude to the game's style, to the way that the environments are depicted, to the sounds even. These are the sort of sounds that you only hear in the Australian bush. And it's a stark distinction from the usual association of Australian bush, so giant spiders, drop bears, that sort of thing. Admittedly, it is very much an interactive children's book, so gameplay is minimal aside from highlighting the environment, sort of allow your wombat to wander through it. But if you're looking for that sort of game, just a laid-back representation of the Australian rural scene, then it is looking very much to achieve that vision. Up next, we have Projection from Shadow Play Studios. It was one of the 6 titles that were given the rights to be highlighted along the wall of this year's PAX Rising. And it is definitely worthy of note too. It is very much a shadow puppet style game. You play as a little girl, like in almost a shadow theater play, as she goes around various cultures that all have a history of shadow puppetry involved. So you travel through epics set in Indonesia, in Turkey, in China, and in London too. The way the game plays out is that you control both the avatar, that is the girl, as well as a light, which projects shadows and light onto the environment, which you then use to navigate through the environment, to build platforms, to solve puzzles, that sort of thing. Admittedly, given the nature of shadows, it is susceptible to some fun with physics, let's call it. But having said that, the conceit seems really interesting, and I am just a sucker for shadow-based platforming, so I'm looking forward to see if this game can follow through on its epic vision. Up next, we have Witch Thief from Cardboard Keep, an isometric bullet hell shooter. Now, that's a genre you don't really hear in 2017 now, do you? And it very much adheres to the nature of bullet hell, except for its isometric camera angle. But aside from that, it is everything that you'd want from a shoot 'em up bullet hell sort of game. So the screen is, at times, just filled with bullets, and your aim is to try and just dodge through all these bullets, find the sort of one clear path that is moving around the environment whilst shooting the sources of these bullets. It is, aside from the isometric perspective, very true to the angle, but having said that, that camera does provide some opportunities for the game to distinguish itself, to really show off the environment, so it's more than just looking at a ship over the top. The story and the writing seem fun enough, and it looks like the game will have various difficulty levels, so if you want to focus more on the environment of the story, or if you really want the bullet hell nightmare in 2017, then it looks like that Witch Thief will be able to offer that opportunity. Speaking of genres we don't really see in 2017, there is a rhythm game being shown on the PAX Rising floor. I know, right? I was excited to see Spin Rhythm from Super Entertainment being shown and to get my hands on it. Indeed, the demo that they had had a couple of iPads set up because it's going to be released on there and PC, but on top of that, they also had a full-on turntable to really push through the game's message. So basically, you control, and a DJ turntable is probably the best metaphor to describe the game because you control one of two colors, red and blue, and as the red and blue notes come towards you, you sort of have to make sure that your corresponding, section of the turntable is there when the notes come your way. The game has a thumping dance soundtrack, and it will set to follow through with that, as well as provide the community the opportunity to develop their own beat maps and upload it to the game that way. But even in its early stage, the execution is tight, the rhythming is strong with this one, and I am just excited to have a good new rhythm game in 2017 and 2018. That is but a small sample of the independent games that are being shown in the PAX Rising section. Honestly, you could probably do a whole month's worth of episodes highlighting some of these awesome games. But really, if you ever are at PAX Australia in future years, it is very much a section worth dedicating a day to, and even then, you'll only scratch the surface.
And that's a wrap on PAX Oz 2017, on our coverage at least, but there was way more at the show, way more on the show floor, and even off the show floor.
Look, it seemed like, it almost seemed like there was less people, but I would argue there was actually more on the show floor. I don't know, it was strange. It seemed quieter, but maybe because there was more to do, and so they were spread out more?
Yeah, we were talking to some of the people on the show floor, and there was a lot more VR free play.
Yeah.
And so
that'll take a lot of the traffic.
Yeah. Well, it took a lot more than I was expecting. I'm still, there are plenty of VR skeptics out there. I just haven't had the opportunity to actually jump in the deep end yet.
I'm a VR skeptic.
Yeah. So it was interesting to see that while it felt like there was actually more on the show floor, there were not more people on the show floor.
Which was good because it meant people could actually line up properly. They could experience the show, walk through.
Line up properly.
Yeah. Because they don't do lines well at PAX. I come from TGS. And so, and then we had the community areas and stuff, and that was really well populated, lots of console tournament area, BYOC.
Well, even in the community area, there was the speedrun tournament as well, or speedrun, marathon.
Yeah.
And there was a terrifying amount of people in some of those events, and I've been privy to some of the behind-the-scenes stuff and some of the ghetto solutions that they've got to run through, which is always awesome. When you see there was a Spyro the Dragon race between two speedrunners in Oz, and one was direct AV capture, and one was literally a webcam at the CRT, which I thought was, and then they got it working as the game finished, which was amazing. But the amount of people that rocked up to watch it was really, really impressive.
Well, plus there's lots of other stuff. We had the Diversity Lounge with Alice from our team running it. The Sea of Thieves activation was pretty cool. It's on the Pollywood side, because get it, pirates, get it? Because pirates. It's on.
Yeah, it's fine.
Anyway, so there was lots of cool stuff to actually come and see, and even as a visual spectacle, even though the hallway, as you can see, is just full of cool stuff for people to come and do. So I don't know, man, it still maintained that visual spectacle.
Yeah, well, it's always a relief and kind of unfortunate that PAX has to come to an end, but it has for us at least this year. Odds are it's going to happen again next year.
There's a good chance, I'd say.
yeah.
Yeah, just a food for thought. But don't forget as well that we will be at Madman Fest, which is next week. So there's still lots of stuff that you can come and see. So next week, of course, being Mad Fest, will be a lot more Japan focused, which is our Weeby specialty. And there's some cool surprises there as well. So if you are on the show floor, do feel free to come and see us. We had a few people come up to PAX and say hello as well, so it was great. But I guess that is a wrap for now. Do you know how to do the spiel?
Do I know how to do the spiel? Yeah. So in the meantime, between now and Madman, or now and next year's PAX, hopefully sooner than that, make sure to follow us on everything that you have. So on YouTube and Twitch, it's youtube.com/NewGamePlusTV, twitch.tv/NewGamePlusTV, and our social feeds, do you know those?
It is at NewGamePlusTV on Twitter, and it is Facebook.com/NewGamePlusTV on Facebook.
And the website is newgameplus.tv. Follow us everywhere.
And you can see all the content from all the other avenues in that one space.
For sure. But for now, that's all from us. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.